So the SimCity 5 beta came and went, and we got a real good taste of what the new SimCity looks and feels like. We didn't get access to everything over the 3 days of beta, but we got to have a taste of some of the disasters, including tornadoes, meteorites, and zombies. This is my full review of the SimCity 5 beta and my thoughts on what the full game will be like. So with the beta came our first look at the Glassbox engine that SimCity 2013 runs on, and I was totally impressed with what this game engine can do. Just simulating every sim and every parcel that moves through a city is truly amazing to see, and you actually see it in this game, all moving through your city and seeing how your city works together, and how I was just blown away by it. I was really impressed with this game. You really get to visualize your whole city, and it's not just representation, it's simulation, and I was just blown away by how good this game looks and just how everything worked really well in this city. Maxis did a fantastic job using this Glassbox engine. And because of what this Glassbox engine allows you to do, the representation of data has been completely overhauled in SimCity. And while it took me a little while to get used to seeing everything not in graphs but in actual visual representations, it seems a lot easier now that I've got used to it than it was looking at SimCity 4 trying to understand all the graphs. A few changes that came with the SimCity 5 that relate to data representation is how the budget has been done. The budget is slowly introduced to you as your city grows, and I find that such a good tool, because in SimCity 4 the hardest thing to do was to start. Once you got started you were right, but getting started was really difficult because you were basically dropped in the deep end. And SimCity 5 slowly brings it into you, and it is so worthwhile, and it was really well done the way they've done it, and I think that was quite a good choice what they've done. So one thing that the SimCity series has preached is freedom of choice and user creativity, and SimCity 2013 is really just that in a game. This game lets you do so much, and I was really impressed with how vast the options are with what you want to do. The only thing that really limits you is the size of the map, and I'll get to that later, but this game does not pinhole you through a certain direction where you have to go this way to build a successful city like we did in SimCity 4, where basically we created a mass sprawled city or a highly dense concentrated city. In SimCity 2013 you have a lot more freedom of choice that comes with the ease of use of this game. I was really impressed with how this was shown in the beta, and hopefully it'll be even more simpler in the full game, but not too simple whereas there's no challenge left to it. I did it like that. I found that there's still a challenge to this game, but it was the freedom of choice so the simplicity of the game gave you a lot more choice to do things. In the beta we finally get to see some of the new features of SimCity 2013. This included the city specialization, the great work site, and some of the online leaderboard features that we have in the full game. Now the city specialization was quite interesting. We saw all the different types, from gambling to electronics to oil to coal, all those different kind of industries you can go into. And while we were only allowed to play with the first building of the gambling city specialization, they definitely look to be quite interesting, and they each have their own benefits and costs to when you put them into your city. And it was interesting to see how beneficial it was to the commercial services to import the gambling option, but the impact it had on your crime. You definitely had to invest a lot more into your police station and into your police force than you would otherwise. And it was unfortunate that we couldn't play around with the other specializations just to see the kind of impact and how they're going and how they worked within the city itself. So the great work sites were unveiled, and among those there was the International Airport and the Ecology site. Now this is interesting because most people assume that the International Airport would be the only airport that our Sims would get in the SimCity. But fortunately we have the local airport that you can build in your own city, the municipal airport, which is enough for medium wealth business owners and residents. So there is an international airport that will probably bring in business for everything in the region, and the municipal airport that will increase business in your local area. Another thing we got to see was the online leaderboards. Now personally I don't have any interest with competing online, especially within SimCity, just to see whose city is going where, because it's not like the individual stats that matter, it's the overall of the city that needs to be taken into consideration. So I didn't really get to see these, and these didn't appear to be fully working in the beta, as none of the stats from anyone else was coming online, just those from the Simcity studio itself. So while we did get to see what kind of stats they were looking at, we didn't get to compete with each other on that sort of level just because they didn't seem to be fully working within the beta. Now I do have a few criticisms of the SimCity 5 beta. Some of these are gameplay issues, some of these are graphical errors. One graphical error that I came across was the screen would occasionally flicker as you were scrolling around the map. It wasn't a biggie, but it was just noticeable every once in a while, and it seemed like just something that would be picked up and addressed in the beta. Another error I encountered sometimes was the unreliability of the road guides. Sometimes you would be trying to draw an even side, like mirror image city, and the guides would not give you that. You'd get one side that would look even, another side that would be uneven. And it seems something that would be addressed in the beta as well, but it was noticeably irritating, especially if you're a bit of a perfectionist and trying to get your roading outline straight and done properly, that the guides didn't really, they were helpful sometimes, but not helpful to the others, and you ended up ignoring them. Another thing that I found difficult to judge in this game was the necessary space you needed for buildings. When you are zoning commercial and residential, all you will see is the green line on the side of the road that you're zoning against. And that's fine. I found that quite a nice little system to easily go and zone everything, but it's hard because you don't know, you can't judge the depth of the necessary depth you need for when a building goes up, because buildings won't go up if the lot behind it isn't deep enough for the houses to go there. So that became a bit frustrating when you have corners in it or like sides of buildings where you're trying to put some either small shops in, but the game doesn't tell you that a shop can't go there because it's too small to be constructed, and that was quite difficult. And that also came quite difficult, especially when you're putting in fire, police stations, and town halls. And when you go to expand those, you can't because you haven't judged the space around them properly. And there's no real way to judge them. You have to basically do it from prior knowledge. And I wish there was an easier way for you to see this is how big the space around this building will be needed, so you can expand it later on. Because the most difficult time I found that was with schools. Place a school, put houses all around it, or place roads around it so it looks quite nice. And then later on you find out it needs to be expanded and you haven't given enough room. You either have to delete your roads, to add those rooms. And then it becomes a bit of a hassle and you're just like, why couldn't that be simple? Now by far the two biggest criticisms that you will ever see for this game is the small city size and the constant online connection. Now initially when I found out about these, they didn't really bother me because I've always played on the smaller maps from SimCity 4, and playing on this map, I wasn't that bothered by the size, but it did become noticeable, especially when you're trying to expand, how small the map can be and how you don't have that much freedom when it comes to how you connect to the region, which is a little bit irritating. There's some of the criticisms there. Whether they'll be addressed for the full game, I don't know, because they're quite big issues to fix and they might just be limited by the game engine. But the small city size is noticeable, and you'll definitely struggle if you're a big fan of the massive sprawling city, because this game is inevitably going to be about density and compact cities that are easily linked up and very easy to move around using public transport, because the options are there for this game. They haven't shorted you out on the options of public transport and how to work around the problem of a small city size, because the options are there. But it's just the criticisms of the game. And now the constant online connection, that was such a hassle. About 2 days into the beta, they shut down all the servers to address some issues, and it was an absolute pain to find that out because you couldn't connect to the servers whatsoever, so no one could play the game even though it worked perfectly fine for me. I have no issues. I couldn't even connect to the game because other people found issues that had to make this game servers shut down and turn back on again. So there was a time where you noticed that because you have to have an online connection, it became a bit of a hassle to play. So apart from the small issues which will most likely be addressed for the full game, I'm really looking forward to the full game. And from playing with the beta, I have pre-ordered my game and I'm really excited to look forward to the full version. When that comes out, I'll give you a full review of this game, and I had a lot of fun with the beta. I was really impressed with it. Given the small issues that will most likely be addressed, I'm looking forward to this game and ready to play it. Thanks for watching, and just leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you like this review.